So here we have it, the man of the hour. He played in Major League Baseball for 22 years. He's a 9-time All-Star, a 5-time Silver Slugger, a World Series champion, and National Batting Champion. And most of all, he's in the 500 Home Run Club. Please welcome Gary, the Alpha Male Lion, the Tampa Bay Kid. I told you so, Sheffield, in the house, baby. How are you?
Well, great introduction. All that's great. But Eddie, I know better have one of my cigars, 'cause this is what we do. I'm doing great. I hope you got one of my cigars, man.
Shit. Well, let's see. Let me load this up.
There you go.
There
There you
you
go.
go. Look at that with the chef.
Mm,
Huh?
there you go. There you
Now,
go.
chef, I was at a cigar lounge the other day, right? And I told
Yeah.
my people that, hey, I'm going to be interviewing a guy named Gary Sheffield. He's like, what? Yo, he's got his own cigar brand. I was like, what? Where? I was like, do they sell it here? They're like, no, you got to go to this place. I think it's called Franklin Square in Long Island. I had to pick it up. And there was only 3 left. So I
Yeah.
jumped on it, chef, I
Yeah.
smoked one,
Yeah.
and I got the other one right here for the future, and I got yours right here. And,
That's a
but,
good thing. That means they're selling.
exactly. And here's the evidence. Hold on, let me get the zoom in. Look at that. Look at that.
There you
500
go.
Club, Gary
That was
Sheffield.
that was that was the first model I came out with. That's a 60. This one here is the box press. This is the second one I came out with. The five, when I hit the 500 home run, and then they came out with this one, the in the black box. The other one was a baseball box, which was the presentation was unbelievable. Then I wanted to have a black box, and they came out with that one. So we're working on a third one now.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I wanted to buy, I think it was a leather box, right?
Yeah, that's the baseball
Yeah,
stitching.
they didn't
Yeah,
have
the
that. I was
real.
like,
It was the real baseball and the stitching of the baseball, and that was a little costly to create. So we brought it down a notch and made sure that the box still had the same presentation, but more cost efficient.
well, yeah. Well, that's coming through. Chef, I want to
Yeah,
ask you a question. When you were a kid, right?
yeah,
How many fights throughout the day, on a daily basis, you and Doc Gooden, which is your uncle, how many fights you guys go through a day? Like fist fights? I'm sure
yeah.
you did, right? I'm sure you were angry when he would beat you most of the time, right? Talk to me about those days.
It was just a matter of how well I played that day, or how well, should I say, I practiced that day. He was pretty intense, and every day it was a different day, and I would get better over time. But on the average, one or two a day. But my granddad always would send me back out there because obviously, he must have knew what he was creating at the time. Um, if I didn't catch the ball or I didn't pitch the ball right or he hit a home run off me and I didn't want to go get the ball, it was always a fight about something. And it just brought out perfection. I wanted perfection because I knew I had to give perfection to be able to stop getting beat up. And so every day around the same time, 7 in the morning. We're out there all day pretty much, and I just got better and better and better. And so what I found out later is that he was trying to get me prepared to be able to go to other neighborhoods and compete. And he knew what he brought to the table, but he wanted to make sure I was ready.
Chef, have you, since you're saying that he would like beat you up, but you love football, and I'm sure you were a great tackler. So you tell me that you couldn't tackle him and say what?
Well, Doc was a big guy. Doc was 6'4". He was
Mm-hmm.
always the biggest kid in the neighborhood, and so um, you know, I wasn't that big. I was a smaller kid, but I had big legs and I had an athletic body. I haven't grown into my body yet. I was still a little kid, and so Doc was always tall and lanky and strong, powerful legs, and so he was 4 years older than me, so what could I do?
Right.
So it was like I just take it and get mad about it, go in the house crying, and it built me into the man I am today.
So when you would go home crying, what would your parents tell you?
Well, we was out in the front yard actually, and they know it was a lot of commotion going on out there. It was just I thought that that that's my mom's little brother is Doc, and so it was like brother and sister always getting into it because that's my mom, and so it was always them two first, and then it'll trickle over to my granddad or my grandmother, who had more authority, and but my granddad would sit in his chair, and he had a rocking chair, and he could see us outside playing. So he knew what was going on. And if it wasn't nothing vicious, he would he'll throw the ball back outside and say, go back out there and play. And, he'll tell me how to approach it the next time. Just go get tougher. Go out there and, throw the ball correctly, or you can hit him, or you just as good as him. He was just always giving me those kind of words, and I'll go back out there, I'll stop crying, and then we'll start all over again like it never happened, and to the next one. And so, we do this every day. It was like a routine, and over time, I got better at it, and I started, being able to compete with Doc. But he still was better than everybody, and but I was on my way.
Did you guys break any windows and run away from certain homes? I mean, I remember my childhood. We would do that. Like if we break a window, we're
Yeah.
out. We're running away. Did you do that too?
Well, well, the place we lived in, it was a vacant lot next to us, to our right, and behind us, it was vacant land. It was a lot of land behind us. So, we would hit the ball over the house into the woods back there, and or we would hit the ball into vacant land, or it would land on top of the house, which we had to go get it, and so which I had to go get it, but that was part of the fighting. I didn't want to go in the woods by myself. I didn't want to go on top of the house. All of those things. So, yeah, we broke a lot of windows. But they expected that to happen because we was out in front of the yard playing and playing baseball, which you're gonna break windows, and so my grandparents didn't care that much about that. It was just if we was out there competing, we had to go at it, and we had to make sure that we did it in a way where we didn't hurt each other.
So, Doc, sorry, Doc. So let me ask you this, Chef. Here's my question, right? When you're playing Little League
Yeah,
Baseball, right?
yeah,
Did the
yeah.
whole field, when you were up, did the opponents tell their third baseman, buddy, go to left field because
No,
this guy hits
no,
missiles, man? Were you
no.
that guy?
Well, when I was growing up, we had a lot of guys like me, and this is what I tell people all the time. We had we had a roster full of guys that was just another me, and guys compete, and we compete at a high level. But I knew how to do everything. I could pitch, I can catch, I can play short. I did everything, and I hit. And so it was just, you may have a guy that can hit the ball over the fence, cross the street, and can run faster than everybody there. So I always tell my kids the same thing. I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the strongest, but I knew how to do everything, and I knew how to do everything correctly. And so that was the thing that got me over is that we had plenty of guys like me, but it was just competing against the best. And so it brought out the best. I knew I had to come with my A game because I know they would. You had guys come from poverty. They a little hungrier than most, and so these are childhood friends and guys I grew up in the neighborhood with. So it was normal to me. It was like, okay, who's going to win the battle today? And that's what it was about, and that's what prepared us for what we was about to face.
But isn't it a great feeling that I hear CEOs in nowadays right now they hire former athletes because they know how to deal
Hmm.
with failure.
Hmm.
Whether a kid played collegiate, little minor league baseball, maybe a little bit major league baseball, whatever. And the CEOs tell me, I don't want a straight A student because he don't know how to deal with
Right,
failure.
right,
I'd rather get a
right.
guy in
Yeah.
between, especially an athlete, because they know,
Hmm.
people, complain, oh, I can't hit that inside fastball. Well, then don't complain. Go fix it. Go out to the
Right.
park, put the tee, get the hands inside the baseball, and get the bat head out. Do it 300 times a day, and good things will happen. But I just feel like
Hmm.
nowadays I don't see kids doing that.
Well, I just had a conversation with my 17-year-old son. He had a miserable game last night, but they won. And basically, I asked him, "How do you feel today?" And he said, "Well, I'm just trying to forget yesterday and move on to the next one." And I said, "That's a good approach, but you have to understand why you had a bad day so you can move on to the next one. Because if you don't understand why you had a bad day, then you're going to have another bad day." So we went over his film, we went over his at bats. He was making a little small mistake at his low by dropping low and then having to create three different moves before he could swing. And so we've always cleaned things up. If he have a off day, he may get a hit or something, but I may not like the hit, but we'll go and clean it up. So I went in, we cleaned it up and got back to what we do. And so, like I told him, you got to be able to process information that I'm giving you and applying on the field, opposed to having an answer to what I got to say. Listen to what I say, process it, and then go out and implement it. And so that's what he did. And now he's in good spirits today. And all they got to do is win two games and they win state. So that's what I get them prepared for. And like you say, with CEOs, I partner with, you know, you know, with groups and companies, and we talk about, you know, athletes and sports, how it pertains to business, and that's the one key thing that people don't understand about CEOs. What they're looking for is a guy that can adjust on the fly, that can adapt in any situation, in any room, can lead under any circumstances. Because the CEO is only there to push the button to say yes or no. He's really not there to do the work. That's why he has you there. And so you have to be a guy that know how to compartmentalize everything that's going on and happening in real time and slow it down and give it a great answer or solve a problem.
Chef, you said in the video he did three things to get to his hitting position. Is that what you're saying? The three things, like there was
Well,
movement with the
well,
hands?
what happens is, if you're gonna hit like I hit with the
Mm-hmm.
waggle, you can't you can't make three different moves at one time to get your swing off. If you do, which is going to be days where it's just not in sync. What you have to do is, when you're doing that, is you have to start real early that day, so you can get all of those hitches out the way, so you can get your hands to the ball. But if you drop low and then have to come back up to hit tall, it's gonna create a loop in your swing, which creates three moves just to get to the ball. So what we do is we'll eliminate movement, um, and a shorter path to the baseball, which makes you more explosive.
So pretty much you're saying he had a little of this, then this. Is that what you're saying?
Well, sometimes you can get your hands too high because you don't feel comfortable with your waggle, and so you start moving your hands to feel comfortable. And sometimes you got them so high where it feels comfortable, but you got to get it to the ball. So now you got to drop your hands, then you got to use your lower half, then you got to swing. So that's three moves. I teach no stress in your legs, knowing where your load is, get to your load in a timely fashion, and take the knob goes to the catcher, then then the bat goes to the ball. And when those things happen, that's just what it is. You just do those moves, and then you're on time. So a lot of times we try to create the power, but the pitcher is really creating the power.
Mm-hmm. Right, because what I learned about hitting is that all you guys could start differently, but you're all going to end up the same once you land that front foot. You're all going to be in that ready
Right,
position, right?
right,
And
right.
then at the big league level, it's pretty much you guys all know how to hit. It's just if you open that shoulder up too soon, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to really you got to really be in sync to who you are as a player, and not really like try to create something that's not there. It all comes down to strikes and balls. Pitchers don't want to throw strikes because they don't have to if you're going to swing at balls. So when you force them to throw strikes, they have to be more intentional in the zone because they have to make that pitch and put it where they want. And if they don't, they know they can get hurt by it. And so they know they're going to give up home runs. They know they're going to give up hits, but they have to be more efficient than hitters do because we got 30 different swings, to get the job done, but once they throw it, they have no more control of it. So they try to be pinpoint accurate with what they're doing. And as a hitter, once you learn the strike zone, I never seen bad swings taken in the strike zone. The only time I see bad swings is when the ball is out of the strike zone.
Well, I mean, the ball looks great coming down the middle, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
change up nasty, falling off the
yeah,
table. You're like, oh shit, how the hell,
yeah.
right? You went through all those, right? But
Oh yeah, yeah.
but you know what's impressive, Chef? I was looking at your stats, right? And I'm saying to
Hmm.
myself, look at this guy. He averages strikeouts probably 50 a year with 600 at bats, plus
Right,
again, a lot of walks. That's impressive as for a home run hitter that you could
right.
do that. Because right now, Chef, if you look at the players nowadays, I mean, how's a guy, Kyle Schwarber, in the league hitting 200 but 40 home runs, right? Now, you played in the old school days. You're looking at that jumbotron in the middle of May, and you see 195. You guys are probably saying, "Yo, what the hell is that, man?" Because that pisses you off, right? You're frustrated with yourself. Now these guys are making 15 to 20 million a year. Just up and lift. Don't worry about your strikeouts.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not their fault. That's basically what they're asking these kids to do is hit the home run. They got him at the top of the lineup, and they only care about his own base percentage and his OPS and things like that. And if he can hit 40 home runs up top of the lineup, that's like a leadoff guy driving in 50 runs. And so that's basically what a leadoff guy does. He drives in 50 runs. If he drives in 80, he's great. But if he drives in 50, they're asking him to get those 50 RBIs by himself up front. And if it just so happens there's a guy on base or two on base, he hit a 3-run homer, that adds to it. So it's just a different way the game is being played. Um, these guys don't have to worry about getting sent to the minors for hitting 190 or 200 strikeouts. So if you don't have those thoughts in your mind that you don't have to worry about it, it's easy to go up there and hit 40, 50, 60 home runs. It's easy.
Yeah, but I don't like that 200 batting average, man. I
No,
can't.
no,
I
not
can't. I
I
can't
no.
imagine that, man. I can't.
Well, I just think that if you have four quality at bats and you do your job, you can win more games that way. But I guess the data is showing that this is more sufficient than the way we played. But for the consumer who's watching it, I want to be entertained and I want to see some different things going on, and I want to learn something every day. I want to see what certain guys can do and certain guys can't do certain things. But when you're forced to do all of these things, um, it makes for a better baseball player and a more confident baseball player. But when you're one dimensional, I don't think much of you, to be honest with you.
So, Chef, if they teach your son, I mean, we all know your son's getting drafted, but let's say if he signs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If they teach him, say, listen, man, we don't care about you hitting for batting average. We want you to hit bombs. And then your
Mhm.
son's going to probably tell you, Dad, I'm frustrated, man. They kind of trying to change my swing. I can't deal with this. That's too much thinking, man, isn't it?
Well, if they tell him to do that and then they cool with him doing that, then that's what you do. If that's what they ask you to do. But I teach trying to teach him to be a complete hitter. I want them all to be complete hitters because no matter what part of the game you're in, the first inning or the last inning, it's about getting the job done. And I'm a big believer in getting the job done. Anybody can go up there and swing for the fences, and you may run into one that day, you may run into two or three that day. Who knows? But to me, there's no thinking to that. I just want the ball in the zone, and I'm gonna go for it. But like I said, if they ask him to do that, you got to do what they ask you to do, and until it ain't working no more, or if it's working, stick to it.
Right. So at 11 years old, you're in the Little League World Series, baby, against Taiwan. What was that
Mhm.
experience like? I mean, kids dream for that. I mean, there's only 1% that makes the Little League World Series, right?
Yeah,
Chef,
yeah.
were you
Uh,
excited? Were you like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, right?
well, that wasn't our thinking. Our thinking was we're supposed to be here and we're supposed to win it all. Well, how I grew up, like I said, it was plenty of guys that can do what I did. There's plenty of guys that was just as good as me. But we expected that. If we was in a close game, we're yelling at each other as teammates, hey, pick it up. We're not supposed to be in close games. We're too good for that. But when we got there, these are the things that we grew up knowing we would get to because my neighborhood for as athletes was second to none. And so we had all kinds of guys. We had big guys, fast guys. We had guys that was all around. We had guys can hit from both sides of the plate at a young age, and then we had track stars at a young age. So we had it all, and we had flamethrowers. And so when we got there, it was the crowd is probably the only thing that really like surprised us. It was that many people at our game. We never played in front of that many people, and being on national television and back then was a big deal. Little kids get to see us back in Tampa on the radio, all these things. So, I grew up listening to baseball games on the radio and using my imagination to what was going on the field. So now when the TV came into play and started showing games, then I kind of put my IQ into what I was seeing and what I was hearing. And that's what helped me as a baseball player as well.
So you were a great listener, a great observer, right? You really studied the game. You really wanted to know a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but see, this is something that you can't teach now because kids they have phones, they have everything to go to, and they can see everything in real time. But the way I grew up, my granddad told me about the great players that was playing the game. And so I used my imagination to imagine how great they were. And then when I listened to it on the radio, they were saying, he took a pitch outside, so I know what a pitch looked like outside. And then all of a sudden they say he hit a home run on a high fastball at top of the strike zone. So I pictured the ball at the top of the strike zone, and he hit a home run. So I started. My granddad always worked on the top of the zone, hitting off a tire, building up arm strength. So all of those things was shaping me into a disciplined player, a player that understood what was going on and know how to process things in real time and adjust on the fly. So all those things was happening at the same time. And when I learned that, the game became easier. And that takes out all anxiety. That takes out the pressure of what you think is pressure is no longer pressure because you already built for this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Chef, the reason I was a successful college baseball player as a hitter, I would always look away and react in. I didn't really care about the inside fastball because it was just a reaction for me. But I really cared was the outside because 90% of the pitches are on the outside. Whether I face a lefty with the low and away slider, low and away changeup, might sneak in a
Mhm.
two seamer to go in on me. But I remember I was at Bucky Dent's baseball school and I talked to Paul O'Neill. I was entering my sophomore year in college. And I said, yo, man, what's your take on lefties? He's like, treat them like a righty. Just keep that shoulder in. Look away. Let the ball
Yeah.
get just a little deeper, and that's it. It was that simple. Look away, react in. I think that's the best approach, Chef. What do you think? Did you hit that way too?
No, it's the right approach because I mean, a lot of guys they worry about inside of getting their bat broken and getting their hand jammed and things like that. But 80% of the ball is going to be away from you. Whether if it's righty on righty, breaking balls, everything goes away from you. The guys that had the most success when I played or even today is the guy that can work both sides of the plate. If you're living on one side of the plate, you're not going to have much success because I watch games, from time to time with my son, so he's aware of what's going on, and I need him to understand certain things, that happen in a game. I take the good and I tell him what's good, and then I show him what's bad. And I do that by having to watch a baseball game, which I hate to do, but I do it. But it's just one of those things where when you start understanding, the easier it gets and the more you can process, then everything else just fall into place. Like if you don't, if somebody just told you look away and then adjust in, that ain't really telling you how to hit. You know, you got to be able to process first pitch, second pitch, and understand what they're trying to do to you to finish you off. Now, once you understand that from pitch one, it's going to be hard for somebody to strike you out because you don't let them get to the things that they're trying to get to.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you got to tell a good hitter to look away and react in. You just, I mean, I agree with what you just said before. You just don't tell anybody look away, look in. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you got to tell a good hitter. You know, so now when you played at Hillsborough High School, correct? Is that correct?
Hmm. Right.
Who'd you play against that was superstars too? I know Tampa has unreal, great baseball players that came out. When you played at Hillsborough for 4 years, who'd you play against, or was it your high school teammate? Who was in the conference? I don't know what you call it down in Tampa, Florida.
Well, at Hillsborough High School back then, it wasn't that many schools as it is now. So basically, we played all the great players in Tampa, whether it was Tino Martinez, Luis Gonzalez. We play Chris Myers, who got drafted by the Baltimore Orioles. He pitched, left-hand pitcher. Um, it was Paul Russo, got drafted by Minnesota Twins. Um, the guy I spoke about, Tyrone Griffin, was our shortstop on my little league team, but he went to a different high school, which I was supposed to go to that high school, but I stayed with the tradition of my family of going to Hillsborough High School. I was in the district of Keene High School. I played against Tyrone Griffin. He was on the Olympics team, USA team, and he went to Georgia Tech. He got drafted by the Cubs in the first round. So these are the type of guys I had to face. But I welcome those challenges because I felt like I was the best kid in Florida. I thought I was the best baseball player in the world at the time, and it proved to be right because I looked for the challenge. I pitched against them every time I faced them, and I hit home runs on the pitchers that I named every time I faced them. And so it was just one of those things where um, it was preparing me for what was to come. And so meeting a challenge and facing the best guys, it was nothing for me.
I love it, man. You're like an alpha male lion. That's what I call you, chef. I mean, you just don't take no prisoners. You're like, whatever, bring that 100 heater. I'm gonna kill you. It's just that simple, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
high school, you put up big numbers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you put on a display, right? How many home runs you hit your senior year?
15 home runs and 20 games.
50. So
Yeah.
you're averaging a home run a game,
Well,
almost.
actually, I just told you I was talking to my son earlier. He had a
Mhm.
bad game. I was telling him what your thinking should be on a daily basis. It's not no who we playing, we beat them last time, and all that nonsense. It's the mission is the same. I don't care who we playing. The mission is the same. And so if you're gonna be the guy, walk around like you the guy. Be the guy. You don't have to be arrogant about it. You don't have to be none of that stuff. You just have to show up and everybody know you in the building. And so I told him every time I got out of my car and stepped on the baseball field, I wanted to let everybody know I was here and you have to deal with me. And so that right there alone gives me the edge because I know I'm the best player out here. Now, the next thing is I have to go out and prove it on an everyday basis, which I was willing to do. And if you're not willing to prove it, then you can't be that guy. So, it just I always tell people there's plenty of dogs out there. Everybody's a dog until the game start, and then you're gonna know who the alpha dog is. And so that's all I was sending a message to is that I'm letting you know I respect you, but you're gonna respect me a little bit more.
So pretty much, you respect everybody, but you fear nobody. That's the bottom
Fear no one, fear
line,
no
right?
one, because where I'm from and what I come from, it ain't no going back to it. And so since you in the way of where I'm trying to get to, then yeah, well, hey, let's go. And
Well,
that's basically my mentality. I've always had this mentality, and like I said, growing up with Doc, man, I'm not an arrogant person. You may think it's arrogant and coming off arrogant, but I'm not an average. I mean, I'm not an arrogant person. I'm a very confident person, and I believe in myself, and I know who I am, and I know what I stand for, and I don't compromise that for no one. And so if it offends you, then oh well, then you ain't for me, and you don't need to be with me, and I'm cool with not being with you. And so that's what it is with me. So that's how I live my life, and I live happy, I live in peace, because I know who I want around me, and I know where I'm going, and I know where I'm coming from.
Well, listen, I mean, the mentality you have, eh, I wish people nowadays could understand that mentality, because a lot of people, they give up on things real quickly. They can't, oh, it's too much challenging for me, or it's this, it's that. People make excuses and they just give
Yeah,
up. I'm sure you're the
yeah,
type of guy that if you're, 1 for 18 the last 18 at bats, you're
yeah,
going to fix the problem. You're not going to bitch. You're going to come out to the park the next
yeah.
day early and work on what you got to work on, right? I mean, that's how.
That's it. Whatever I made the mistake the day before, that's the first thing I'm going to touch on the next day, and make sure that mistake don't happen again. We fail a lot of times in baseball, and we call it failure, but it's really not. Every time you don't do something, that means you should be learning something. And so, it just depends on your perspective. My perspective is, you're not going to make me not do something, especially what I want to do. You're not going to stop me from doing it. Now, you may stop me today, but you ain't going to stop me tomorrow and the next day. And so you just want to have the more good days than you do bad. And you don't want, long stretches to go without hits and home runs and things like that. You want to be consistent. And I always talk about consistency, because if you're consistent, you're going to be around for a long time, because nobody puts you in a slump but yourself. You put yourself in a slump. And so if you don't like slumps, then get yourself out of it.
Right. So now, where were you when you got called up? Was it a 40-man roster the month of September when you got called up in '88?
Yes, I started out in big league camp. I went to big league camp every year out of high school, and I played very well at the highest level right out of high school, but they felt like I needed reps in the minor leagues, and I went down there and I hit 365 my first year with 15 home runs and 71 RBIs my first year. Um, and I felt like I was ready for the big leagues then, and they didn't think I was ready. I use an example. I tell my kids, I say I use this example of Jackson Holiday. He's a phenomenal player. He's going to be a great player one day. He has a great swing. I look at this kid and I say, this kid is going to be special, and I love to see kids come up like that. I love it. And when I saw him, I told my kids, I say, this kid here, he just need time, and just like you need time and you need to develop, then he's going to be great. But when he had success when he first got there, the first thing I said was that he need a full year of that. And then when he get a full year of that, he need another full year of that. And so they felt like he was ready because he had success at the big league level and he looked like a big leaguer. But I told my kids, it's more to it than your talent. Talent is only going to get you so far. You have to be able to, like I said, I tell them, I say, why do you think young kids come up with the high beams on? The eyes are wide open and they bright. Everything is bright because everything is sped up on you. And so now you can't process what's really happening. But what's happening is you just at the highest level. That's all that's happening. The game is played the same. You're facing pitchers that more accurate at where they're throwing the ball, but you done seen it 1,000 times. But the problem is that if you haven't had enough time to develop your skills and develop your mind, then you can't perform at the highest level. And I think that they rushed him to the big leagues, and he got exposed real quick to let him know that you're still a kid. And but when he took a fastball down the middle of the plate with 3-2 count, I knew that the game was moving too fast for him. And I think that it's good to get him back down, let him get enough at bats under his belt, and in the offseason, send him to Arizona Fall League or whatever league they have, and let him go through the process and playing under no pressure and getting the at bats and seeing the ground ball, seeing everything. And then once he see it over and over and over, and now when he go back to the big league, everything is at the same pace he needed to be.
Yeah. I mean, the kid struck out like what, 30 times in the big leagues?
He struck out. He struck out. I think. Yeah, I think he had like 34 at bats and struck out like 19 times or something like that. But
Wow.
that's too many strikeouts. And when you're striking out at that rate, that tells me that you need more time. And to his defense, are you all right, man?
Cigar. No,
You
no, no.
know,
I'm all right. Let me
yeah.
get
No,
some water. Go
all
ahead.
right.
Keep going. No.
But to his defense, everybody's striking out at that rate. And I wouldn't say everybody, but most of those guys are striking out at that rate. But, you got to remember, the Orioles expect to win. So he has to look at it that way. You're coming into an environment where you have to win. And so it's a lot. It was a lot to put on his plate that early. And I think that they did right by sending him back down and let him take a deep breath.
Yeah. He's going to be good. I mean, he's phenomenal, man. I've
He
been
is.
watching him.
He
Yeah,
is.
he is.
He
He's
is.
special. With Milwaukee, when you got called up, right? Who
hmm
took you under their wing? Who said, "Hey, chef, come here. You're going to be my guy." Which
hmm
veteran took you under their wing?
Where it was two guys, from rookie ball that wound up making it to the big leagues at the same time that I made it up there, which Daryl Hamilton was first. He came up first, and God rest his soul, and Greg Vaughn. There was two older players that both of them went to college. I came out of high school. I was under those guys. Those guys always took me places, told me things, educated me on things. I'm a country boy. I didn't know much. I didn't see much, didn't know much. And so a lot of things that was going on, I was seeing for the first time. And, whether it was on the field, off the field. So I listened to everything they said and tried to, because they considered me a superstar. And so I got superstar treatment, and so I had to move different. I had to move different than most people, because I was always scrutinized about every decision I made. So whether I made the right one or the wrong one, I was really trying to learn what to do and how to do it and how to be a professional. So Greg Vaughn and Daryl Hamilton was the first two. But then when I got to the big leagues and I went through struggles up there, of processing things, that's when Dave Parker and Don Baylor became like my father figure. And they really kind of educated me on, go out and be you, son, and we got the rest. Don't worry about the throwing inside at you and the fighting and all of these type of things that our generation was known for. Just go out and play your game, and because you're the face of this team, and that allowed me to go out and relax and play my game.
It's amazing. I mean, you got called up. I mean, you got Robin Yount's uniform right there, right? Was Paul Molitor there too at the time?
Yeah, Paul Molitor was there as well. Paul Molitor was the face of the team, him and Robin Yount. But they was up in age. They was getting older, and I was supposed to be that next in line. Me, Daryl Hamilton, and Greg Vaughn was supposed to be next in line of the young crew coming in and taking this to new levels. And so, the move to third base is what changed that whole atmosphere and changed the dynamic that we had. We had electricity out there. Me, Greg Vaughn, Daryl Hamilton, we played together in the minor leagues, and we knew each other's game. And so when we got to the big leagues, it was almost like they separated us into our roles of how we play together, and we had to incorporate that with veteran players. Wasn't They wasn't ready for the way we played the game, and the way we carried ourselves, because we was young and we was immature. That's how we carried ourselves, immature. So that didn't go too well with the generation that I came up in. So we had to really like fall in line and try to figure out how it's going to work being up here with a lot of veterans.
I mean, holy shit, you must be spoiled. I mean, Dave Parker and Don Baylor. I mean,
Yeah,
those are
yeah,
big names, man. Those are big names.
yeah, hmm
And then with
yeah.
Milwaukee, like, you were 19 at the time. Were you like, for a 7 o'clock game, did you come out to the park like 2 p.m. and like you want to take that extra BP? Were you that guy?
Yeah, I was that guy. You got to remember, I was 2 years removed from high school,
I
so
know.
I didn't have shortstop. down pat. I had a 99 arm in the six hole. I was, I broke all kinds of records with my bat in the minor leagues. So I had all the tools. I just needed time. And so you need the experience, a ball coming at you 118, 110, 120, and things like that. I wasn't used to baseballs being hit that hard to me. And so once I started getting used to it, and now it's just another day at the park for me. I was being told that I got to move my position, which I wasn't willing to do. And that's where the negativity started with that because I didn't want to move my position. I thought that there's plenty guys that came up that struggled at short and then they figured it out, which I would have figured it out. And then when they didn't want me to play short, they wanted me to play third. I didn't care for third. I never wanted no part of third. I've always told people if you put me at third base, then you might well get rid of me because I don't want to play third base. And so when I was forced to do it, I just did it the best of my ability and left it at that. And then I wound up in the outfield. So it worked out, and like I said, it was all a learning experience. And once I understood my place in the game, I found my place and then I had a great career.
You sure did. Now, facing Nolan Ryan, tell me that story. That's a classic, right? I mean, he's bringing it. He's throwing at your head. He don't care. He's going to try to
Yeah,
brush you
yeah,
off, right?
yeah. Well, like I said, you're gonna respect the Godfather. That's what we call him. It ain't a matter of his stuff; it's what he's capable of doing with his stuff. And so, I'm a young kid. I was getting thrown inside a lot. I was getting hit a lot. So, I was expecting a lot of things like that. So now I'm having to perform under these conditions. And so now we're facing Nolan Ryan. And the first thing he did was walk to the third base line and pick up grass and throw it to your dugout. Then he goes to the first base line and pick up grass, throw it to your dugout. And I asked Dave Parker and Don Bailey, I said, what is he doing? And they said, don't bunt, son. I was like, "Dude, you ain't got to worry about that then. He'll drill you if you bunt on him." And I said, well, you don't have to worry about that. And so I went out there and the first at bat, he threw me a fastball. I hit it, foul home run to left field. And that must have pissed him off or something. And the next pitch was in back of my head. And I dove forward and I didn't see no blue sky up there. I thought I was dead, and I brushed myself off. I got up. He threw a curveball. I hit it out the stadium to left field, and I was like, man, this is a grind up here. This guy's throwing everything at me. And the next pitch was at my chin. I dove backwards, and now I see the blue sky. I said, okay, I'm alive. And the next pitch, he threw me a curveball, and I hit it off the top of the wall in left center. And when I got to second base, I was so excited I got a hit off of Nolan Ryan. And when I got up, I went to pump my fist, and he was standing right in front of me, and I stopped in mid pump, and then he tipped his cap to me, and he was like, "Welcome to the big leagues." And that's when I felt comfortable after that.
Wow, wow, Nolan
Yeah,
Ryan, he's special, man. Uh,
yeah, he's
were you?
Godfather.
He is the god. He's the godfather of Major League Baseball. You know what I'm saying, Chef? Wow.
Yeah, he ain't saying nothing to nobody. I'd never seen Nolan talk to anybody. And when he tipped his cap to me, it was like I got his approval for him to acknowledge me. And that's how I felt at the time. And then I then to come to get to know him and know who he is and what he stands for. He really wasn't a guy that fraternized with other teams.
Right. But a guy like Nolan Ryan, right? You hit a double off him. Doesn't that give you much more confidence as a ball player? In your mind, you're thinking, you know what? If I hit this guy, I could hang here, man. I could stay here, man. Like it gives you more
Yeah.
confidence, right? You can't wait till you get up again against somebody, right? I mean, I'm gonna destroy
Yeah.
this baseball, right? I mean, you need that.
Well, you need that, but I had it growing up with
That's
Doc.
true, right?
So when I had it with Doc, now is test your skills. Let's test your toughness. Let's test all of these things that I had to get beat up for. And so now when I got the hit off of Nolan Ryan, I had to face one more hurdle to get over. It was only two guys that I was ever worried about, and I felt like once I accomplished these two things, and then it became a third guy. It was Nolan Ryan, then it was Dave Stewart, because Dave Stewart, he pulled his hat down so like it was all the way down in his eyes where you couldn't see him, and he would have his glove at his face, and it was just like intimidating. But I refused to be intimidated, but he was kind of intimidating me. And so once I got the hit off of him, and then the third guy became Roger Clemens, and I wound up getting 5 hits off of him the first time I faced him. Um, Now I checked all the boxes, and once I checked all the boxes, now it became let's go out and have a great career because I checked all the boxes. My goals was simple and small, then they became bigger after that.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I feel you, man.
Mhm.
I'm living
Yeah.
vicariously through you because I'm saying to myself, if I was Sheffield, you know what's crazy too?
Yeah.
When I studied the game too, when they would show This Week in Baseball, I'm sure you were a fan of that show, right? This Week in Baseball.
Yeah.
So what I would
Yeah.
do is
Everybody was.
I would record it, and then I would see your swing, the top plays on my VHS. I would record it, and then I would slow motion to see. Oh, okay, look at his
Yeah.
hands. Oh, look at his legs. Oh,
Mhm.
look how he's getting the hands through. You know what I mean? I would do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun, man. Just learning the game.
Using your imagination.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
all
then you
it
get,
is.
yeah. So now you get traded to San Diego, and it's like a kind of a home, not kind of home, but kind of like you got Fred McGriff. He's a Tampa Bay native. You got
Right.
Derek Bell. He's a Tampa Bay native, right? So you feel like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
with the boys now, right?
Well, Derek Bell wasn't there yet. Derek Bell
Oh,
came
he
in
wasn't there yet.
'93,
Oh,
not in
okay,
'92. It
okay.
was just Fred McGriff and Tony Gwynn and those guys. When I got traded there, that was just one of those things that it was time for me to go out of Milwaukee. And so, no hard feelings. They asked me, do I have anything to say? Nope. I'm gonna show you. And so that's basically all that was on my mind. I don't have anything to say in leaving, but I'm gonna show you. And then I showed them.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh my God, the numbers you put
Yeah.
up. Here's the thing, Tony Gwynn, right? Has it ever happened? You're just in the batting cages and you're just watching him hit and you're watching him work. What'd you pick up from him as a hitter?
Well, I knew about Tony Gwynn, and I knew he was a great hitter. Um, but his style was different than mine, so I really didn't pay attention like that because I say, he's hitting singles and he hitting doubles, and that game to me is great. He's a table setter for me, and so that's how I looked at it. But then when I saw him hit, and I saw the magician side of him in the batter's box against lefties, righties, it didn't matter how he handles that bat, how he always was in control, how he worked early and often, always at the park first, getting his reps in, how to be a professional. I took all of those things and I watched him, and then I said, okay, order for me to be great at this game. I know I'm a great player. I just haven't proved it yet, and I'm going to be great. But what does great players do on a daily basis? And once I saw that and saw Fred McGriff, how he prepare, and everybody prepares different, but there's a preparation and a routine that everybody follows, and it's their own routine. And once I started understanding that, I got a routine. And when I got a routine, every day it's like I felt yesterday. I felt the day after that. And then I kept feeling that feeling. And then I said, oh, it's all about the routine. It's about taking care of your body, getting your rest, taking care of your feet, all of these things. And I got these guys to thank for it because, Tony saw me and took me in the cage, and I started seeing what he was working on. And he was standing inside the baseball, and he was always attacking. And the main thing is swinging strikes. And so when I got all of those nuggets from him, these are things I already knew. But once it's almost like somebody's showing you something
Mhm.
that people been telling you, and he's showing you that it can be true based on what they done told you. And once I saw it to be true, I just stuck to it.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. Well, I mean, what a great
Yeah,
ball player.
yeah.
Now, talk to me about this. I was watching I live in New York. I grew up in New York all my life, right? So I'm
Hmm.
watching a Mets game. And all of a sudden, I see you and Hudley going at it. And I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
What happened here? I mean, I don't
yeah,
understand. So,
yeah.
Chef, Elaborate that situation. I mean, were you really peeking signs? I don't think you're that guy, right? I mean, you're the type of guy, you see it, you crush it. Simple as that. You don't have to know what's coming. Or were
Well,
you,
I had
were
a
you stealing signs? Let's be honest. Were you peeking?
no, I was stealing signs. I don't have to steal signs because I'm looking for one pitch anyway. So, yeah, they can say, okay, you looking for one pitch or you looking for location. I don't, I don't worry about that. I hit to a square. So it was none of that going on. It was a day game. It's already early, so nobody ain't got time to be just thinking of a fight your first at bat, And so what I do is anybody watch my at bats, they'll see me do the same thing every time. I touch outside of the batter's box on the left hand batter's box, and I touch the inside batter's box. That's my routine, so I know where my square is, and I hit to the square. And so when I lift my bat, my eyes are on the pitcher, not the catcher. And so if you putting a sign down, put the sign down after I pick my bat up and get ready to hit. So obviously he thought I was stealing signs, and he threw dirt on my shoe, and I backed out of the box. And I told the umpire that he threw dirt on my shoe, so it wouldn't be no altercation. And I got back in the box. No, he was talking after that. And I told him, you need to sit behind the plate and just keep your mouth shut before something bad happened to you, like that. And so I got back in the box. He threw dirt on my shoe again. So at this point, I'm up for Triple Crown. I'm about to win Triple Crown. And so I'm thinking everybody's doing something to disrupt me. This is just a tactic he's trying to use to disrupt me. And when I stepped back in the box and he threw dirt on my shoe the second time, I stepped out of the box and I said something to him. And then he said something back, and there we go. So that was it. And we got in a fight. All hell broke loose, and that was that.
So, and then the next day, you guys are like good friends, right?
Well, my thing is a process to that. We don't just make up like that. I when I got kicked out of the game, I ran all the way to their clubhouse to be met by like six cops and everybody else because once you take it there with me, this ain't about no baseball game to me. This is about you challenging me as a man. Now we're gonna see what kind of man you are. And so that's what I want to find out. Like if you sit here and say you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that, well, I'm the type of person. Well, please show me. And
Right.
so that's basically my mentality. So after that, I got to first base the next day, and Mr. Eddie Murray, he's a veteran player. He said to me, "Son, one thing you don't do is run to somebody's clubhouse. You can get hurt like that." I said, "Well, once again, like I said, well, you got to show me. If that's what you believe, then show me." And
Right.
so he was like, "Son, you got a lot to learn." I said, "Yeah, maybe, but just like you got a team of people and we got a team of people. And so, if we're gonna take it there, we're gonna take it there. So I'm not running away from anything." And so that's what happened to that. Then all of a sudden, I get to the Dodgers and we become teammates. And I wasn't going over to him and saying we cool. He had to come over to me because I didn't start it. I don't start fights at all. I've never started a fight in my life, but once it start, it ain't gonna never end
Oh, yeah.
until you come to me and want it to be over, because it's never gonna end. And that's how I am. I'm a Scorpio, and I'm not blaming it on my sign or anything. It's just how he
Wait,
made me.
wait. When is
You
that
know,
birthday, Scorpio? November, something like that?
November 18th, and so we cold blooded like that.
Hold on a minute.
So it's like,
My girlfriend's October 23rd. Is she a Scorpio
yeah.
too?
What is it?
October
October the what?
23rd.
Yeah, she should be. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
shit. Now I know. All
yeah,
right. I get it now.
yeah. There you go. Now you see where all the fire come from. But
Now I see the fire.
but
Yes.
yeah. But see, the thing with me is that I never start anything.
Right.
I play my game. I move how I move. It may rub you the wrong way. It may not. But if it does, then that's your problem. But if you got a problem with it and you bring it to me, then the problem is never going to be over until you come to me and say, "Hey, man, I want it to be over." But it ain't going to be over. So every time we face each other or see each other, it's going to be on.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's just what it is.
Well, there's another funny story. We'll get to the Detroit days too, but hold on. Let's go step by step with the other incident,
Oh,
which is hilarious. So,
Yeah,
all right. So
you
now,
like bringing up old stuff.
well, it's old school, man. That's why I can't interview current players. They have no stories. What are they going to talk about? How they hit a
Nothing,
fastball? Exactly. My exit velo's
nothing.
118. I mean, that's all you're going to tell me. What else? Plus, their PR guys control them, so I can't get no current players. And I don't really care about the current players. I care
Right.
about the former players because they have a story and they have their journey, how they made it, their discipline. And I want kids to get inspired. What you went through.
Well, and doing that, the good part about what these kids have now, they have a platform that whatever story goes out there, they can control the narrative and it can be
Mm-hmm.
true because they're telling it. And then they got people that make sure they document it and it's told correctly. And my generation, I know for a fact 90% of stories that's told about me are untrue. I know that for a fact because I can do an article and I'll tell a teammate, stand here and listen to my interview. I'm sorry, not an article, but listen to my interview, and I want you to listen word for word. And I guarantee it's not written that way. It's not even told that way. No, not even the slightest. And so a lot of teammates know for a fact that because I've done that over time, and every team I've been on, I've done it with a player, and I showed them why I'm portrayed the way I'm portrayed in so many ways. Because these guys have motives and they make up things just to try to make you look bad. But see, I'm the type of person you can't make me look bad because I really don't care how I look to you personally. I'm just being me. And if I don't fit, your narrative, then too bad. So that's why I'm the way I am because I know that people just do things for clicks and baits.
Yes, which I can't stand. I can't stand that.
Right,
They try to put people under the bus and all that bullshit. That's not my style.
right.
My style is positive, shoot the shit, and you just tell me the great baseball stories because there's nothing better than baseball stories, right?
Well, it's great to be positive. That's a great thing, and
Yeah.
it's always good to be positive. But also, if you're reporting on somebody, you should be accurate in what you're saying. And
Right.
so get your story straight, and then know the content of it, and then now people understand it, so the listener can say, "Hey, I like that person, or I dislike that person. Now I understand why he did what he did, and now I understand why he shouldn't have done it." So when you that's what it should be, but it's done grown it's grown legs that it's out of control, and nowadays that's why I'm glad kids can create their own narrative, and now they don't need interviews. They shouldn't have to do them because I'm going to tell my story, and so we wasn't in position to do that.
Right, exactly. So now, when you were with the Marlins, I want to know, Chef, and I want the truth on this one. Where'd you guys party after the World Series that night when Renteria got that game-winning hit and Cancel scored? Where'd you guys go afterwards? Talk to me about that.
You know, that was one of those things where it was a blur, and I tell you, wherever there was land in Miami, we was there, and wherever there was a party, we was there. So we went. It started in Fort Lauderdale, and it ended in South Beach. That's all I remember. And it was one of those parties that never ended. And I think that it lasted all off season. And so the bottom line was, when we went out that night, everybody just had a blast.
I could imagine because, the franchise is what? 93 opened up, I think, right? So 93,
Yes, 93.
94,
Yes,
95, 96. Wow. 5 years.
5 years. Yeah,
5 years young, and you guys already won the title. You had more than the Red
yeah.
Sox already.
Yeah, well, Dave Dombrowski told me to be patient and give it 5 years. We're going to win, and I didn't believe that. I saw no way. Well, we had a bunch of cast-off players from other organizations that they didn't want. We had a bunch of great guys, though. That's the good part about we had guys that was hungry and want to show people that they can play, and that's what I loved about that '93 team and those guys because we didn't have superstars on the team. They brought me in to be the face of the team and be the first superstar, and so we had to build it from scratch. And so that's why that World Series meant so much. That World Series championship meant so much to me because we earned that and we did it the right way.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I met Wayne Huizenga, the owner, the former owner, And he says,
Right.
the reason I got rid of everybody and I sold the team, I didn't even I lost money in the World Series.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
because no fans are
Yeah.
showing up, right? Chef, you were there. I mean, nobody
Well,
shows up.
they showed up. They showed up for the World Series. They
Well,
just
but I'm
ain't
just
show up
saying,
for the.
throughout the season,
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
show
Throughout the
up.
season, yeah, they didn't come during the season. But you could tell by the way we walk around in the streets and the appearances we was making and the deals we was striking. It was just like the greatest thing ever to come to Miami. And so, but to come to the games, the fans want to see a winning ball club. And unfortunately, when you put a ball club, it's an inaugural season, it's going to be impossible to win. With the Braves was in our division, who won 12 or 13 division championships in a row and things like that. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. And they started with me by bringing me in as a star player, and just bringing in one guy. You have to draft correctly. You have to, whatever you do going forward, you can't miss. And they didn't miss. Everybody they brought in, they hit. Charles Johnson came from University of Miami, the catcher. We had Edgar Renteria.
He was only
We
20
we
years old at the time.
yeah, Luis Castillo and Jeff Conine. He was there from the beginning. He came from Kansas City. So the pieces was there. Now we got to build a pitching staff. So when they start building the pitching staff, that's what made them able to get to Alex Fernandez's, and then to go out and get Levon Hernandez, and you got Al Leiter, and when you go out and get Tony Saunders, and then you get Kevin Brown as the ace. Now you got to build a bullpen. So they did all of those things in pieces, bits and pieces. That's why we was able to go out in the free agent market and bring in Bobby Bonilla, Moises Alou, and Devon White, and that was the finishing touches. And so when they did it that way, I saw it all go down in real time. And then once we got those players, we already knew we was going to win the World Series. We just a matter of time because we beat the Braves, I think 14 out of 18 times that year, and so they had no excuses about the umpire or anybody else. The reason why they lost, we beat you fair and square during the regular season, and y'all had no chance to beat us.
And their strike zone, right, Chef? I mean, they got a couple of inches, 2, 3 inches outside, right? That the umpires will call it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the game, you look at what the strikes that Maddox was getting. I remember we played him at home, and they basically gave him a ball that was almost but about 2 feet outside, not inches. We talking about, boy, it's 2 full feet outside, and I pretty much had to jump on the other side of the box to even just to make sure it was out there that far, and it was. And then all of a sudden, the next pitch, he went back out there, and I slapped it to right field. So this is the thing that we had to do: beat them at their own game. If you're gonna get these strikes out there, then I'm gonna have to protect out there, and that's what we did.
But here's the thing. But you adjusted. That's the
Hmm.
difference. You see what I mean? Because you
Yeah,
got to adjust at this level. If you don't adjust,
yeah.
they're gonna own you. They're gonna
Yeah, it was no need of complaining about it
right,
because they've been getting it for the last 12 division championships they had. Because, not saying they're not great pitchers, but they had a lot of help,
right.
with the strike zone. I played with them in Atlanta, so I know what they expect. And so, like everything has content to it.
Right.
Like you can sit here and say this player is great and this player is the best player, this and that. Well, there's conditions to all of that. It depends on who you got drafted by. If you own a winning ball club, when you come in as a young player, all these things. And so people say, "Oh, you're a winner. He's a winner. He's not." Well, you came in an organization where it's a winning environment. Maybe they was losing earlier, but then if you got more money than everybody else, you can create a winning environment. So people start making all these claims that they're this, they're that. Put it in context, because if you was on, like I tell people all the time, if I was on let's just say the Yankees or the Oakland A's team as a youngster and playing shortstop, I'll be looked at different. But I started out in Milwaukee. So not to discredit them, it's just that that's the reality. I'm playing outdoors and 30-degree weather, bad conditions, and I'm from Florida. Okay, now imagine if I go indoors and play as a 18, 19-year-old indoors playing baseball, I wouldn't have to put on sleeves. All those things are factors.
Right.
So you can put it in all the perspectives you want and try to make everything whatever you want. But the reality of it is, some people ain't built to be in some places.
True that. So now you played after the Marlins. You go to the Dodgers. After the Dodgers, you go to the Braves, right?
Hmm.
Now you come into my team right here, and I got a lot to
Yeah.
talk about. All right, Chef, help me
Hmm.
out here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that '04 season. It's funny because Gooden was Steinbrenner's like right hand
Yeah.
man for a little bit.
Yep.
He says,
Yep. Yep.
"You're coming to New York. You're coming to the
Hmm.
Yankees, and I want a 5% cut if you do sign." All right, that's what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get to New York. Now listen, A-Rod, he's new on the Yankees. You got a squad, man. You
Yeah.
literally have a squad. I just don't see any holes that year. Do
Hmm.
you think because of Veritek, that fight, that brawl, that changed the Red Sox like mentality, like it gave him that boost?
No, they ain't had nothing to do with it. That they
No?
it were all no, that had nothing to do with it. First of all, we already went into that series. Their pitching staff was the best pitching staff. When you really look at it, you had Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling. Right there alone, you got to overcome that obstacle. We did that first two games. We did that. The third game, we did that. And but you got to finish it off because you're going to see those guys again. And so we faced Pedro again, and we did it again to him. So what happened was, if I told you, if we're supposed to beat Boston 4 games in a row in a 7 game series, or we're supposed to beat them 7 games in a row if we played them, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to win 2 games because they're going to win 2 games. But David Ortiz took 2 games. Let's just say it like that. Okay, if you got Mariano Rivera on the mound in the 8th inning, wouldn't you say you like your chances with the lead? Okay, it's
Absolutely.
plenty of times he's been on that mound when they was in these same situations and he closed out the game and they got world championships behind it. That's all that happened. He gave up the lead. As simple as that. And then people get mad at you because they're fans of his and say, well, if you'd have got a hit here and there and this and that and that. Well, yeah, you might be right. But if you look at how we dominated that series offensively, we did our job.
You sure did because that game 3, you guys won like 19-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're at
19
yeah,
something.
yeah, 19-8. I remember you guys are just killing them, right? You just guys
Yeah,
wrecking them.
you go back and look at the whole series. 5 games in a row, which is almost impossible due to Boston. We was beating them down all the way into the 8th inning. And 2 games they won with comebacks, and 2 games they won straight up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what happened. So you take away the blown save opportunity. I mean, that happens, but they won 2 games legitimately.
Right. Yeah.
Not saying that they take nothing away from it, but somebody had to put the bat on the ball for them to come back, but that's what happened.
My take is that they faced Mariano so many times that year and last year, '03, and it's 18 games within the division, and I'm saying to myself like, well, I mean they just saw Mariano so many times they were due for hits against. I don't know, man. I mean those pitches weren't right down the middle; those were cutters that Ortiz got. I was like, shit,
Yeah.
my God, no
Well,
way.
that's why I have a problem with when people try to grade relievers. And there's no disrespect to relievers, but I'm gonna give you the truth for how I look at it.
Hmm.
It's like when they say, "Oh, it's hard to get through the last 3 outs," which is true. You're great in what you do, and you're great at what you do. I get that part. But to me, that if you had to face me 3 times, would you be as effective? And the answer is no. Okay. So the bottom line is if you got to get 1 out, 2 outs, 3 outs, then you get, a save, then you got to get 6 out. I mean, like, that's great. But it's hard for me. to grade a closer better than I do a starter. So when you talk about greatest of all time, a closer can be great as he want to be. He would never get my respect over a starter. Never.
Well, remember back then we were growing up guys to start the game, they finished the game.
That's right.
You know,
That's
like
right.
you got look at like a guy like Ferguson Jenkins back then. I mean, he would lose 1-0 games in the 10th inning.
Right.
Yeah, extra innings. All right, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. You know what I mean? Like these
Yeah.
guys are going all out. You know,
Right.
but why would you would say that you get the starters respect more than a reliever? Is it because a reliever has a 1 inning job and that's it, right? And a starter has like
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 innings.
Yeah. As a hitter, you're going to make outs and you may pop a ball up that they say, if I ever see that again from him, that ball is going to be in the seats. But you may not get that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You may not even see him ever again. You know, I've faced great relievers before and I only faced him probably 2 times or 3 times. But I wish I can face him, back to back to back, and he
Okay.
won't be so great. So that's how I look at them guys. I'd be like, you wouldn't be so great if I face you back to back to back. But I wish I can see you tomorrow. But so you may not see him tomorrow. It'd be that it's just that one time, and then he goes and he looks at it like he's Macho Man, and that's why I don't respect him as much as I do starting pitchers.
Right. But did you ever face Mariano?
I faced Mariano, I think 2 times. I popped up both times.
Now,
You
was
know,
his stuff vicious or no?
well, to me, I didn't think much of it, to be honest with you. I thought it was a cutter, okay? He's throwing a cutter. And then all of a sudden, he tried to create, with me, he tried to create a cutter that cuts on the inside, throw it under your hands, and come back over the plate. I got the idea of what you're doing, and that's not enough. And so to me, I felt like I just want to face this guy a few more times. Okay. Now I got to see it live in action. I see what everybody's harping on. The ball moves, it cuts, and he throws one pitch. But I don't care what you throw, not one pitch is going to get me out. And you keep throwing it, I'm going to get you. And I'm going to get you plenty of times. And like you said, Boston saw him so many times that it becomes comfortable to face him.
Yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah. Now let me ask you this: with the Yankees, were you tight with any of the players? Were you that guy like hanging out, like you know what, this is my new great friend? You know what I mean? We're gonna be tight, going to dinner together and stuff like that.
Every team that I've been on, I have friends already. I already have my friends. My friends, those guys are teammates and they become associates. And those guys, which, like I say, anybody on my team, they're my family. And
Hmm.
so I treat them like family. And so whether we have a relationship after I go to another team or not around you anymore, it is what it is. But I know who fits in my circle and I know who I need to be around and don't need to be around. So I don't look to go make friends. I don't
Right.
look to go be in everybody's circle. Those things have to happen naturally. I don't seek it out and I don't let nobody into my circle easy either. So I I keep the relationship where it needs to be.
So what was it like playing with Jeter, man? How was he? He just quiet and he just got the job done, right? That's how he was.
Well, Jeter was a great teammate. He mind his business and I mind my business, and he played his game and he's one of those guys when you go out between those lines. The all I care about and what I focus on is that can I count on you?
Hmm.
When I look to my right and left, I want to be able to count on you because when you look at me, I want you to feel comfortable too that you can count on me. And that's all I look for out of the relationship. Anything else really don't interest me at all. Yeah, we went out to movies with his girlfriend at the time and my wife, and we hung out a couple times. But for the most part, I don't do much after the game, and he didn't do too much after the game. We may go out for a couple drinks and sit in a bar every now and then, and after a game, and
Right.
back to the room. But we was more professional. We're about our profession. We come ready the next day, every day, and that was a guy that I can count on. I knew that he was going to come ready to play.
Now, speaking of your wife, let me ask you this: was it nerve wracking when she was about to sing the national anthem? I think you were more nervous for her singing than you actually playing that game one, right? You
you
guys
know,
opened up the playoffs and she
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't nervous for her at all
Uh,
because I knew she's dynamic with that voice. I knew she was gonna bring the house down. I heard her sing so many times, and the thing was is that I just wanted to get, I wanted her to have that moment. And but it was one of those things where you're having your moment at Yankee Stadium in front of all these people, and she put on an outstanding performance. And yeah, we lost the game though, and I told her, next time you sing, we better win the game or you ain't singing no more. And but we had fun with that, and she got to do that, and I enjoyed it.
but wait a minute. That was in '04, the playoffs. You guys didn't lose that game.
We lost to the Minnesota Twins,
Oh,
was the
that's
same.
right. That's right. I was thinking of
Yeah,
the Red. I'm like, wait a minute. You guys had to lose
yeah,
the first. Right, right. The
yeah,
first round. Yeah.
yeah,
Now, but Chef, here's a personal question. You being a ball player, right? In your 19, 20, in your 20s, I'm sure
yeah.
numerous women go crazy for you, right? What do you do
All
for a
right,
living and stuff like that? I get it. You're a kid.
right,
How
right.
can you tell at your level when you meet the right woman? Now, eventually you met the right woman right there. I get it. But
I had
how
plenty
is
of
it?
experience. I had plenty of experience in dating.
Oh, okay. But I'm just saying, like some of the woman, oh, he's got money. Oh, he's a professional ball player. Oh, he's on TV every day, right? That's the first thing they're thinking, 90%, right? There's only
Yeah.
like 10%
No,
thinking,
I don't want to say that about women. I can't say that. I can't speak for all women. There's great
I'm
women
saying
out
there's
there that
10% that's good out there. But when it
yeah,
comes to
but well,
fame,
that's your opinion. I don't know what the percentage is. I just know that you know. I think to be honest with you, I think men turn women bad. I think we turn them bad because we may have somebody that's sincerely loving us and want to be with us, and as a man that ain't ready to settle down, we turn that good girl into a bad girl, and then we off on with another girl and trying to get married to somebody else. So if we would have done right and the ones before that, then it would have been what it was. But I think that a lot of women, they cave into the liking the person as much as they do, and then that person is not who they think they are. That's us as men. And
mhm.
so, to give credit to women and that, and I'm always do that because we can uplift them and we can keep them as great women as they are, and without our shenanigans. And so once we get to a place where we figured out life, and sometimes it takes us some longer than others. When we figure out life, we can help that woman and help us. And it's about if that woman can help me and enhance me, and I can do the same. That's who's supposed to be together.
Well, yeah, well, that's my point. You see what I mean? What you just said. Yes, that's a good woman right there. That's a definition of a good woman. But, Chef, you and I know it, man. In your past, you said you dated. So you know what it's like to say, is this the woman that I could have children with? Is this the woman that's
Yeah,
going to be the mother of my children? Right? That's the
right.
first thing you ask to say to yourself when you get to know a woman. You're like, is this the woman? You know what I mean? Because you want a
Well,
family.
well, everybody's not going into situations thinking that this is going to be the woman. You just dating,
Right.
and wherever it goes, and then it gets to that point at some time in the relationship. It's nothing that um, you just say right away, unless you know right away that this is my wife. Is going to be my wife. Like when I met my wife now, the first day I laid eyes on her and talked to her, I knew she was going to be my wife. That's if I did everything on my end correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and it falls into place. I knew she would be my wife, and I did those things because see, by me saying that this is going to be my wife one day, I did everything the right way because I knew I had to, or then for her to want to be for me to be her husband.
So how'd you guys meet? Did she hit on you or you hit on her? How'd it happen?
No, she was doing a gospel event in New York, and I just won the World Series in '97, and we just so happened was at the same hotel, and a friend of mine knew a friend of hers, and they was talking, and I just saw her standing there next to them, and so while my friend was talking to her friend, I started talking to her, and next thing you know, after we started just talking casually, and the things she was saying about God and about her, like certain things, how she go about her life and this and that. I told her, I said, "You're gonna be my wife one day." And I was half kidding, but I was for real at the same time.
Whoa, that's the
And
first thing you said when you met her, like right after
yeah,
during the conversation.
yeah, that's the
I,
first thing I said. And I knew she thought I was crazy, which I probably was.
you're so
I
convincing,
probably
man. I
was.
love it. I mean, you must
Yeah,
have had
yeah.
good game.
So I said that, and so back then they had beepers, and I vowed to never take a woman's beeper number. If I don't take beeper numbers. Give me your house phone number. And so when she left, I paged her, and she called me back, and I just told her I just wanted to make sure you got home okay, and that sparked the conversation to go farther, and that's how I met her.
I love stories like that, man. Serious. And you know what? I didn't meet her, but I saw your wife and kid at Doc Gooden Day
Hmm.
at City
Yeah.
Field, and I said to
Hmm.
myself, "You see that Sheffield's happy, man. He's got a good
Yeah.
woman, a good mom. You guys, I love your family pics. I mean, I love seeing pictures like this. You guys are all
Yeah.
together having fun, and that's the key, man. You know what I mean? It's that relationship. Yeah, there's ups and downs, but you guys are
Yeah.
there for your kids. You do anything for your kids, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of respect to you as a
Well, I mean, we got 26 years in,
right.
and she know me, I know her. She allows me to be me, I allow her to be her, and that's the thing. And my boys had the foundation, my family had the foundation. We got everything we need. I don't worry about too much, to be honest with you. I just live my life, enjoy myself, enjoy my kids, watching them play, and watch their journey.
Yes.
Watch them on their journey. And when I get to see their journey, I just want to be, in good health and being able to see it. And so I just sit back and just in the front row seat, basically.
You got the gangster seats right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
All right. So now let's go to Detroit. Now this story is hilarious, Chef. I love this story. I listened to it somewhere. It was between you and Carmona. Jimmy Leland said, "Hey," and I love this manager too, man. It's a privilege to play for this guy. Jimmy Leland said, "Hey, you have any problems with any of the ball players in Cleveland?" You're like, "I do." You're like, "Well, listen, you can't get thrown out today. I need you today, right?" So
No, it didn't happen like that.
oh, it
It
didn't
didn't happen
happen?
like
All
that.
right. So
No, it
what
didn't happen
happened?
like that.
Because was there history between you and Carmona? Did you hit that home run in Cleveland or something like that? What happened?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what triggered his emotions because I'm just trying to do my job. I go up to hit, I pull a ball down the left field line hard. I look to do damage. That's just what I do. And he took exception to it. And so I must have hit a ball. They say that I hit a ball out of the stadium in Cleveland on him. He threw a ball inside. I hit the ball, and it went up a tank, and it wound up going out of the stadium. That must have embarrassed him. I don't know why would that embarrass you. It's a strike. It's a strike. It's a foul ball, so it's a strike.
Yeah.
So I didn't think nothing of it. And next pitch, he drills me. I didn't think nothing of it because I didn't know he had a problem with it. So I went to the base. We get to Detroit, same thing. I hit a ball to the upper deck in Detroit. And anybody know that if you can reach upper deck and left field and come close to hitting it out of the stadium, that's a long ways. And so I did that again, and he hit me. And now I remember you hit me last time, and you hit me again. Now I'm saying something to you to let him know you do that again, I'm gonna come up there and I'm gonna try to break your arm. That's what I told him. And you know, we go back to Cleveland. Before we start the game, Jim Leland called me in the office and told me, "Hey, we need you in the game. Don't get kicked out of this game." And I said, "Skip, it ain't nobody gonna hit me for practice. I don't you're just not gonna drill me because you feel like it. There's repercussions to that."
Mhm.
And he was like, "Gary, I'm telling you, man, just stay in the game." I said, "All right, Skip, I stay in the game." So I get in the game. He throws a pitch inside. I hooked it foul. Next pitch, he hits me. So I'm walking all the way to first base, staring at him. And all I do is I wait on you to say something. And if you say something, I'm coming. Okay. Now I get to first base. Here I am, 37 years old, something like that. I'm up in age. I'm not stealing no base because I don't feel like it because I'm older. I don't feel like stealing a base. Now, the first pitch of the next batter, he tries to pick me off. He throws the ball over to the first base. So I say to him, "You had your chance to get me out when I was hitting. Why the hell you throwing over the first base?" And he said something. So I went at it, and that was it. And then after that, we got kicked out. I said, okay, since he want to start this war, I'm going to show him who I really am. So I found out where he likes to hang out after the game, and I showed up. I showed up by myself and walked in the VIP, and everybody that they say be there with him, but unfortunately, he wasn't there. So if you want me, here's your chance where no umpire is going to break it up. Nobody can break it up. This is me and you. And he wasn't there.
Oh, wow. But then, weren't you with Curtis Granderson that day or no?
No,
No?
Curtis Granderson tried to talk me out of it. And
Oh,
then Curtis Granderson showed up to try to get me out of there. That's what they
okay.
because they know me. They know me. And they know I'll find where you at and I'll come to you. And that's basically what I did. See, it ain't no just a baseball game. You just get to hit me and then we leave it on the field. No, no, no. Don't work like that.
So there's a sequel to
No.
it, to this, right?
There's a sequel to it. Yes, yes. We're
Okay.
gonna we're gonna we're gonna handle it like men. And so this is what you asking for. Hey, if you can do something to me, then I'm the type of guy that then show me. And
So,
so that's why I was giving him a chance.
and but then what happened later on with Victor Martinez?
Um, that's when Jim, because obviously they don't suspend you right away. We
Mhm.
have another game the next day. So Victor Martinez was popping off in the paper saying, "Who is Gary Sheffield? What has he done?" Anybody that make an immature statement like that just tells you
Wait a
something.
minute. He said, "What has Gary Sheffield done?"
Yeah, he was saying all these things and this and that, blah 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 and blah blah blah. So I told the reporters, after you finish talking to me, go back and talk to him and tell him to meet me outside of this locker room there. If that's how you feel, tell him because I'll be outside. I'm gonna be outside of his locker room. Tell him to meet me out there, and he wouldn't come out. So all of the talk is talk, right?
Right.
So I'm about my business, man. Okay, you said what you had to say. Then now let's see what's shaking. And so obviously you just running your mouth. So now the next day I go up to hit. Um, Skip already done told me, hey man, you can't get kicked out of this game. And I said, okay, I'm gonna let it go. And so when I'm walking up to the plate, he's standing up there staring at me, like like looking right at me, like he want to do something. Now it took everything in my power not to take his helmet off and do something, but I'm trying to listen to my skipper. And so that's when I got hit again by Kimona, and I wound up going out there and fighting during the game. And um, he was in the back of the crowd running his mouth and all of this type of stuff. And, like I said, I saw him years later at a cigar spot, and he came up to me and he gave me my praise because I didn't know what to expect. I'm just being honest with you. When I saw him get out the car with like 4 or 5 dudes, I told my guy with me, I said, I'm telling you right now, I'm finna do something to him. And just like that. But when he came up to me in a non-threatening way and basically singing my praises, like about what kind of player I was, what kind of this and what kind of that. So I couldn't look at it as something threatening and be threatening like that. So I just let it go. And he wound up he gave him his phone, he gave me his phone number and gave him mine, and that was the end of it.
And that was
Like I
Victor
say, I don't.
Martinez, right? That was Victor
Yeah,
Martinez.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I see him on the circuit with his kids,
Hmm.
travel ball. I see him out there, and he's a great guy. He turns out to be a great guy, but in the heat of the moment, I'm not thinking about none of that.
So, Chef, pretty much. You're like the Tony Soprano in baseball. You mess with me, you're going down, huh?
No, well. Like I say, I don't bother nobody. I don't.
Right.
I mind my own business. But I'm not nobody to play with. I'm not nobody to get involved with in a negative way because that it ain't gonna go well for you or me. And so I don't walk around claiming I'm gonna do this and do that.
Right.
Hey, you bring it, I'm ready, and that's just what it is. And so I don't like confrontations. I really don't. But once I'm in it, I'm all the way in it.
So, Chef, your final year with the New York Mets.
Hmm.
Boy, that home run, right, Chef? How did that feel, man? Was that the
Yeah.
first hit
Oh,
of
it
the
felt great.
season? It was right in the beginning.
Well, I went there
But
to
hold on,
start
Chef.
it.
Hold on, Chef. But let me ask
Mhm.
you this: at 499, are you pressing, man? Are you saying, "Damn, I gotta get this 500. I gotta the hands tighten up"? I mean, are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself? You just want to get rid of it already.
Well, I will say to you, that's the first time I really put a lot of pressure on myself is to get that over with. I wanted it over with. My mom and dad came down for like 2 weeks and I didn't do it. Obviously the reason I didn't do it is they wasn't starting me to start the season, and so I had to sit the bench. I didn't know if I was getting in and hit or not. So I would get in and walk, or they'll give me a start. I'll go 2 for 3, 2 for 4, but I wasn't hitting the ball out the park, and so I didn't think that I knew I wasn't playing that day and the day after that because. I told my parents, y'all go home, man. When I start, I'll call you and let you know I'm starting, and then you can come, and I'm gonna hit it that day. And just so happened they gave me a pinch hit that day, and I guess it's my former team that I signed with out of high school. I didn't even realize it was the Milwaukee Brewers. I was just zoned out, and just like let me just now I'm in a zone now, and so like when I'm hitting now is I got to do something because if I want to get in the lineup, I got to do something. And so just so happened, we had a tough at bat. It was a grinding at bat. I think it was 11 pitch at bat, and I was timing him and timing him and timing him, and he gave me one that I liked, and I turned on it.
That 500th home run, was that the first hit as a Met? Was your 500th home run as a Met?
You know what? My time there, I don't have a lot of memories of what I did there.
Okay.
I was just there, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you to be honest with you.
All right.
I
So
just know that.
the year before,
Yeah,
you had 499 towards the end of the season. Is that what it was?
yeah.
How many at bats did it take from the year before? Like in September, would you have 499 in September?
You got to remember, I hit 19 home runs that year
Right.
to get to 499 because I had arm surgery.
Oh, right, right.
The first year I got to Detroit, I had 25 home runs in the first half of the season.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they put me in a game. They put me in right field the game before the All Star break because that would have been my 10th All Star that I was going to. But I told them I'm not going to the All Star game. So when people say 9-time All Star, I'm really a 10-time All Star. I just gave it to somebody else.
Oh man,
And
in my introduction, I
and
choked. Then man, I said nine-time
yeah,
All Star, man.
well, I am a 9-time All Star, but I chose
Right,
because you got
right,
to remember back during that season. That's when if you win the All Star game, the National League or the American League get home field advantage.
right, right.
And so I was a DH at that time. So there was the All Star game was in San Francisco. So I wasn't going to play, and I wasn't going to be in the field. But at the same time, I just hurt my shoulder, which I had to get surgery, by the way. So I I had to come from rehab of having that surgery that off season, and then I still wasn't healthy that whole year. That's why I hit 19 home runs, and I did that with a bomb shoulder. And then I came back to spring training. I hit 7 home runs in spring training, so now I'm healthy, and they released me. And so now I got 499. That's how I got to the Mets.
Oh man, they released you, man.
Yeah, the same guys I got the World Series with: Dave Dombrowski, Jim Leyland.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But you couldn't end your career at 499. No way, man, right? You said, yo, I gotta get a season, right? You said I have to play.
Well, I think to be honest with you, my first initial reaction was that's it for me. I don't care about that. I really didn't. But my wife and my family, they thought it would be cool that I do it. And I said, you know what? She said, you can't, because I was shocked and I was pissed off because I'd never been released from anything before. Nobody ever released me. And so this is to get released. I've seen great players get released before, but I just didn't know the feeling of it. And when I got the feeling of it, I really felt it's like rejection, but then again, what are you rejecting? I'm better than what you got. You know what I mean? And so I looked at it as okay, it happened, and I had no hard feelings towards it. And so I said, I'm gonna just go and get the 500 home run and keep it moving. And that's why I had already had my house in New York from playing with the Yankees. I could have went to the Phillies and played, but I chose New York because I already had a house there.
Where'd you have a house in New York, by the way?
Alpine, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
my neighbor was Chris Rock and all those guys. So, you know, I had great neighbors. I had good friends in that area. And so we kept the house. And just so happened, you know, from the Yankee days of leaving the Yankees to go to Detroit, I kept my house from New York days. So, and it worked out.
Chef, isn't it annoying? Like when you get traded in the middle of the season, you got to pack it up, you got to do all that stuff, right? I mean, you rather get traded
Yeah.
right, during spring training will be good, or it. I guess, yeah. I mean, then they rent you guys for 2 months, right? When you're a team that
Yeah.
needs extra help.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't. It ain't cool to get traded because you got to move your family and all. So that's
Yeah,
why people didn't understand why I approached the game the way I did, because I know the game didn't love you back like you love the game, and so I didn't really get wrapped up into who I played for and where I played. I was just there for do my job, and once my job was done, I'm not giving you more than I need to give you. There's levels I can go in anything I do, but I wasn't willing to give you anything off the field that I normally give people that treat me the way I should be treated. And when I don't get treated the way I should be treated, or you don't pay me what I deserve, then you just get my performances on the field and nothing happens off it.
so when you got married and I'm assuming, was it your second marriage?
No, first
No,
marriage.
okay, but you had a kid, a Gary Sheffield Jr., right?
Junior, yes, yes.
Okay, so but that wasn't with your current wife right now, right?
No,
Okay,
no.
so when you got married and you had kids, they were raised in the Tampa area while you were playing.
Yes, there was.
Okay,
All of them is here. And so the bottom line is that you know, I went off and played baseball. Everything off the field was taken care of, and so I don't include my private life into my baseball world. You know, you may
right.
see them here and there and things like that, but for the most part, I kept my family private and out of the way, and let me do what I do because I didn't want my kids growing up in the spotlight like that and having to deal with what I deal with. So I did that intentionally, but they wanted to be a part of certain things, which I had no choice but to let them be a part of, like All-Star games and a couple of things that they wanted to participate in. But I wanted them to share into some of the things that I did. But I really never like to be just known as a baseball player. I want to be known as a great father, great husband, things like that.
Well, look at you. Look what kind of great dad. Your son got a ride to Florida State.
Yeah,
We got, what is it, May right now? What is it, the drafts during the All Star break?
yeah,
So
yeah. It's in June, July somewhere in there. I don't
yeah,
know
I
when
think
the
it's during
draft.
the All Star break they do it now. It's like doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
yeah.
And then what happens when, like, for instance, if your kid, his name is Noah, right? That's playing right now.
Yes, no, yes,
And
yes,
let's say they finish the season 2 weeks from now, right? But then you got the whole
yes.
month of
No,
June.
they finished the season Saturday. They just got to win Friday, and then they get to the final game, the championship game Saturday. So they got 2 games to win state.
Okay, so here's the thing: you got 2 games left, right? What's he
Hmm.
gonna do the whole month of June and the whole week of May until the All Star break? I mean, I
Get ready.
disagree with the draft. You know what I mean? I think the draft should be
Well,
traditionally in June, right in the beginning.
yeah, well, he's gonna train. First, he's gonna rest, and he's gonna train, and then I'm gonna let him rest about 2 or 3 days, and then you're gonna get back to training. It never stops. You know, we train. And we're gonna eat right. We're gonna train, and we gotta look. We're going. He's going to the combine. We got a couple things on the table that we have to visit with personally, and you know, he's already enrolled at not enrolled, but everything is already in place at Florida State, and based on where he goes in the draft is going to determine his future. And so we have to get to that portion of it. And I told him, decision makes itself. You know, you don't have to worry about anything. Your life is, you have a great life. You don't, either way, it's going to be fine for you. So it's just a matter of where you fit.
Right. Well, Chef, I grew up without a father. Never had one. He left me when I was 4. But I say to myself, when I see dads like you, I say to
Yeah,
myself, these kids should be honored to have a father like you.
yeah,
Because, relationships with the wife or the girl might not work. But don't you ever divorce your kids, man. And there's a
right.
lot of, that's what my father did to me. I don't know where he's
Yeah,
at. I ain't seen him since 4 years old. I'm 48 now.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Uh,
like, I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't play no victim card like, oh, I don't have a dad, so I'm gonna be a bad person. No, life is based on decisions, and you need a positive environment, role models, to help you succeed in life and do the good things.
well, I appreciate that. You know, I just try to do the best I can, what I know, what my strengths and weaknesses are. Um, I know that this world is being a kid nowadays. Whew, I'm glad I'm not a kid and having to grow up in this, but
Right.
you know, we just try to do the best we can, raise them with old school values mixed with the new school stuff, and try to make it cool as possible for the kids and not be overbearing in their life. And I just want them to grow up and be individual thinkers. Whatever decisions you make is your decision, and whatever you get into is because you got into it, not other people.
Right.
So these are little principles, you know, trust in God. That's where you find your only happiness. Those principles and values, and we definitely preach education. You get your education, and a lot of people are talking against education nowadays because uh, you know, when you get powerful people talking about, you know, the most wealthiest people in the world didn't get a degree. When you start hearing stuff like that, some of that may be true, but you know, you got a better chance if you're educated.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. Before I let you go, Chef, how much fun do you have at TBS, man? I mean, come on. Here's what I'm.
Yeah.
This is what I'm visualizing, Chef. I'm
Mhm.
I'm assuming when the game is on, the playoffs. I bet you and Pedro talk so much smack and say, "Why would you throw that pitch? He should have done
Yeah.
this, right?" Like off record, right? You guys talk a lot of
Yeah.
smack in between.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those things where, you know, Pedro is he's very curious, you know, about what hitters think. And I'm very curious about what pitchers think. That's why when I got to know Pedro, I didn't like Pedro too much when I first played against him because of the, you know, we competed, but I just thought he was a little this and a little that and a little puny little guy, you know, trying to play tough. But I just wanted to see how tough he really was and that type of thing and competition. But once I got to know him, Pedro is a great guy. I love being around Pedro. He's a funny guy. He loosened me up a lot and about life and things like that. And I appreciate that for him doing that. And so we used to talk about things about like hitters. Like I can predict when the guy is finna get got, you know,
Hmm.
and he can predict when a guy's finna strike out. And so we just play these games and talk about different outcomes that was happening and situations that they was in. And like the people from the studio started listening in on what we was talking about and trying to get us to take that on air. And so we try to do that as much as possible. But that's why they created this thing where we're sitting on the couch and talking baseball and getting call-ins and things like that because fans was fascinated by what I knew as a hitter and what he knew as a pitcher, and we kind of combined the two. And then when you add Jimmy Rollins in it, then you get another perspective as a hitter, a different type of hitter that switch hits and things like that. So it was a great chemistry that we had and a great relationship that we accumulated. And so I really appreciated Pedro. So that made it fun being there. And I used to give cigars to Pedro because his grandmother liked cigars. I didn't know that. So these are things that you learn about people, and that's why for me, it helped me understand people a little more and starts opening myself up to really getting to know people because the people that you don't think that you'll have anything in common with and hit it off with, if you don't open up to that type of thing, then you'll never find out. And so I start opening myself up a little bit and letting people in a little more, and it works out better that way.
What suits were you wearing when you were getting dressed up? What kind of suit is that? Is that custom made for you?
Yeah, it's custom made. First I started, the first clothing company I ever used was Bespoke, out of Atlanta. And then I changed to like certain guys that have their own clothing company. And I go to those guys. I may see a guy in a suit that I like, and I know it looks different than in most suits I see, and I know my body type, and I'll say, "Hey, where you get that suit made?" And he'll tell me, and then all of a sudden, then I'll start getting my suits made there, and so that's where my style come from. I've always been I always wanted to be a good dressing person. I wanted to wear something nice, and not just to show it off. It's just that it makes you feel
Exactly.
good. And when you feel good, you look good, and when you look good, you play good. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Dion said, when you play good, they pay good.
Exactly. And they surely paid you well, huh?
Yeah, yeah, they
and
did.
so now you have another kid. He's in Georgetown University, right?
Yeah, that's me and my wife's first son. That's our oldest from my wife, and he's at Georgetown. He's a junior now. He's going to school for politics right now, and then he's going into law and business. And so he's getting closer to that degree. That's him in high school,
Hmm.
right there. And now he's a full grown man, 21 years old, bright future ahead of him. He's still playing baseball, but if baseball don't work out, he's gonna be great in anything he does.
So, Chef, you know how hard it is to get into Georgetown. You realize that
Yeah,
that
I
that
do.
school is
Oh, I
no
do.
joke, man. That
Well,
school, you gotta have brains, man.
yeah, what's so funny about that? He had a lot of school. Harvard, he had Yale, he had all of these schools, Princeton. He had all these schools that he can choose from. And the thing that he was more concerned about than school of anything, which was the craziest thing that I ever heard. He was all he cared about was baseball. I was like, dude, do you know how smart you is? You worry about some baseball. Baseball is a short window of your life that you get to play. Whatever you accomplish at these schools, you get to do for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
And so your life earnings can happen for a lifetime. So so that registered to him, and so he chose Georgetown, and he said, "What I got to make on the SAT and all this type of stuff." I mean, who does that? Who asks that question? And he said, I'm gonna score this high on it," and he did. And so he scored so high, and then it's like, man, this kid is special. And so um, I just move out the way and enjoy the ride, man,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
and I tell him, I said, you did something that I couldn't possibly do. And I said, and you want to do something I did. I said, but I'm looking at what you're doing is more remarkable than I ever could do. And so just that alone, man,
Did he
you just
finish?
have to let them know.
Yeah. Did he finish his sophomore year or freshman year just now?
He just finished his sophomore year.
So that means he's going to be a
He's
junior next year, right?
No, no, no. I mean, I'm sorry. He just finished his junior year. He's going to be a senior next year.
So when he comes to play against St. John's in Queens, I could
Yeah.
watch him play because that's the Big
Yeah,
East,
I
right?
actually, St. John was one of the schools that wanted him as well. And at the last hour, he was going to St. John, but then he said, "No, I'm going to Georgetown," and that's how that happened. Because with the New York ties we had, St. John became an option, and
Right.
so we chose Georgetown. Well, he chose it.
Well, listen, St. John's. Don't get me wrong; it's a great business school, but Georgetown, but brother,
Yeah,
you're the future
yeah.
CEO if baseball doesn't work out. So look at it
Oh,
that
of
way.
course,
You know what I mean?
of course. Well, he knows that now.
Right.
He didn't know it going in. He was just a smart, nerdy kid. Just wanted to just say, "I want to be this," and I can't wait to get off on my own until he got off on his own and he realized what it entails. And he started missing mommy and daddy. And now he a grown 21-year-old man. And now, he understands the life of being on your own now.
Right. Well, he's used to mom washing his clothes. Everything is set for him, right? Your wife being a great
Yeah,
mom, and now he's in
yeah,
Georgetown. Hold on a minute. I'm
yeah.
on my own right now. Wait, what do I do? Right.
Right, right, right.
Listen, Chef, you've been great, man. Seriously,
Thank you.
I always wanted to interview you. You're my 74th guest. I got another Tampa native next week, Fred McGriff.
Right. Yep.
And I'll tell you, man, your journey, how you accomplished, how you became a man, a family man, it's just remarkable, man. I just don't look at you
Thank
as a
you.
ball player. I look at you as a father figure, being good to the wife, with the kids, whatever they need, you're there for them. And I'm sure you didn't spoil them. I'm sure they had to earn stuff, right? I'm like, you want money, wash the car a little bit.
I spoiled him.
You did? Oh, okay.
I did. That's the
Well, you know
biggest
why?
mistake I
Because
ever made.
but you never had that. You never had that. So you grew
That's
up like me.
that,
It's through
yeah, yeah,
poverty,
but
You never had that.
yeah, but it don't help.
It
Trust me.
don't help. No, no.
It doesn't help. It's better to make them earn their way and
Right,
live life
exactly.
as it's. Yeah, well, live life how it's going to go for them, and not try to interject anything and move things over here
Right.
so it can work out for them. They got to go through it, and I think they appreciate it more that way. And that's how I look at it. And so, I traded my jersey in a long time ago. When I retired, baseball was out of my head, out of my life, everything. I didn't, that was it for me. It was just about my kids, what they want to be. If they want to play baseball, reluctantly, I have to participate, but, I do it for them. And that's the only reason I do it.
Chef, there was an Instagram video. You at 53 hitting bombs. There was cars passing by at night, and you hit it over the fence, straightaway center or left field. I'm sitting there saying, he's going to hit a car, man. Did you remember that
No,
Instagram video?
well, yeah, yeah, I remember it, but I wasn't going to hit the car. I was hitting it past the cars. So I was
Oh,
like
okay.
making sure.
All
I
right.
mean, it's the fence wasn't major league standard, but where I was hitting the balls was going out of major league parks. It's just that across the street it was major league standards, and so where I was hitting the ball, that's where it was landing. So cars wasn't in danger. I had a lot of people on social media like that's irresponsible to be hitting home runs and you may hit a car. Well, what's irresponsible is they put a baseball field right
Right,
there. So,
exactly.
you know what I mean? So, obviously, if they put a baseball field right there, you can't think of a 14 or 16 or 18-year-old kid ain't going to have a game and hit a ball far. So, but unfortunately, I knew how far I hit the ball and I knew where it was going.
How'd you get involved with the cigars? I'm a huge fan of cigar smokers. Guys that just hang out, smoke cigars. What happened? Did Patel come up to you and say, "Hey, I want to do a cigar brand with
Yeah,
you"?
yeah. I actually it was me, the Oliva family. They're from Tampa area, and I went to them about doing a cigar for me. And basically, when I did that, they was talking about different brands and this and that and what I like. And then I heard about this guy Rocky Patel, and I drove down to Naples and I had a meeting with him. And basically, the exact words I said to him was. I would love for you to make a cigar for me, um, but I got my own money that I can get you to make my own cigar. But I want you to use your money. That way, if you use your money for making my cigar, you're going to make sure my cigars sell. And so when I said it like that, he's like, I like the way you do business. I say, yeah. I say, because, yeah, I can give you money all day long and build a cigar, but you're not going to sell it. You're gonna half-ass my cigar. And I said, but you know, I'm not doing this for money. I'm just doing this to have my own cigar. And I smoked cigars my pretty much my whole life. And so I just wanted to say I got my own. And we've done business ever since. And then we've been going strong for almost 15 years, 14 years.
Oh, wow, that long, huh?
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
man, God bless you. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so how do I catch your son's game? Like, what do I? Can I go online or something like that? How do I watch the game live?
Yeah, just go to Jesuit High School,
Okay.
and then they'll tell you the website to go on because they scream their games on different networks and stuff like that. So during the season is different. Now during the state championship, the next two games is probably going to be different. So just look for Jesuit High School out of Tampa, and it'll tell you exactly where they're playing and who.
And you said the next game is when?
It's Friday,
Friday. And if they win the
and if they
Friday
win
game,
that, they're playing Saturday for the state championship.
and where's it going to be? Is it like, like in New
And
York City?
Fort Myers.
Oh, you guys don't play in a professional big league stadium?
Last year they did. They played at I think the Twins complex, the Minnesota Twins complex.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think it's going to be there again, or is it going to be at Boston Red Sox spring training, or is it going to be Minnesota Twins spring training?
Oh, okay. They couldn't do it with
Yeah.
the Tampa Rays play. They can't do that.
Hey, I don't know.
You know why, Chef? Because like city championship game in New York high school, it'll be either Yankee
Yeah,
Stadium or City Field, right?
yeah.
City championship in LA is at Dodger Stadium, the high schools. So I was thinking maybe.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think these kids really care. They
Right.
playing on a major league field. They're good. They just want to win state championship.
Well, listen, Chef, you've been amazing, man. I
Thank
seriously
you.
have to say, you are the man. I love your vulnerability. I love everything about you. I said, look, I know the guy's a tough guy, but he's also has a soft spot in him. Come on now, and you did. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
thank
So,
you. Yeah, we all do.
I just need one more favor. You're gonna be by yourself. I'm gonna ask a question. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me just end this.